All right, we're good. So, hello, I'm Heike Love, and this is for Teaching Now program on my introductory video for my lessons that I'll be teaching in the upcoming weeks.
Okay, Marcus Condi, teacher mentor. And what do we want to talk about first? Which
Okay.
part of our lesson or next week?
Sure, but first, what do you teach again?
We have a combination of autism students, so CES, Communication, Education, Support. Our C1s and C2s are essentially doing they're essentially doing world history, really more of US history. And our 2A, 2B, our older kids, our C3s and C4s, are doing kind of more focused on government. Okay. And so, as you know, being in the class with me, we focused just on writing assessments over the past week or two, because writing is one of our main focuses in here, since we share responsibilities with them. So we'll be really diving into, if not Friday, then probably the first part of next week, using the attainment books for just tools for history, as far as photography and using online. And then for the government, we're kind of jumping in on what are the different types of government.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So for things that I want to do when I begin to teach, I followed a lot of your examples. So, for example, when our students first come through the door, I would like to greet each student and make sure that all their materials are ready. And we do check for pencils, paper, notebooks to make sure everything is in place. As far as my expectations and rules, I know that you still have some posted, and they're pretty much the same as mine, so I wouldn't have to post mine on. But some of the rules that you do have is raise your hand for permission to speak, and be respectful to one another, and keep your hands and your feet to yourself. That's one of the big things with our population. So thank you for that. For the upcoming lessons, what do we have planned, and what do you already have aligned that I will be?
Okay, well, to be aligned, well, first off, with the paper and pencils and stuff too. So as long as they're in routine, we know where their binders are. So they should get their binders out. They should have paper and all that too. So that should be an easy one to do because they are somewhat getting in a routine. I've already kind of done a tentative lesson plan already for our government class. So we're going to kind of break it down as far as our do now. And I actually just made some copies of the do now too. And they're both very similar. So we're going to have our objective listed, what students will be able to do. Okay. And so for our history class, which I guess it's about whichever one you feel more comfortable with. If we do the history class, the attainment books, this is just asking, what are the different WH questions. So everything we're doing for our do now is to build on what we've already been doing. And let's see who remembers the basics of who, what, when, and where is all important in history. And then we're giving them kind of a multiple choice type of history is the study of, and let's hope they recognize that it's of the past. But again, the biggest thing is, you've already been with me for a while, is that we just recognize that there are no guaranteed. The answers that we may think are guaranteed are not guaranteed, and trying our best to not react with the, oh wow, I thought you should have known that in front of us. You know what I mean? Which is at times tough to do, but it gives yourself a little giggle inside as a teacher. But we'll use this as our intro lead-in, and then after we go to that, then we'll be using we'll use a combination of ReadWorks in the back, as far as I have in there just basically about the White House, as far as just one basically to get them used to having some differentiation. So some of them will be doing that, while others will have you start using the books, kind of doing a read aloud, get them used to highlighting, and then you'll need to be thinking about how we can differentiate. This is where kind of this year we use some type of a graphic organizer for some of our students. Without naming them, some of them aren't very good at writing, so how we can modify for those students to access the material. So kind of a basic kind of standard thing. Okay, here's routine up, here's our do now. Boom. Okay, here's kind of the next thing we're doing. Could be whole group, like today we're doing a writing assessment, but instead it'll be, okay, here's now our intro of, we'll separate into the groups, and we also will have to look at We have to look at our seat placement as well, because in our room we have our separate sections of 6 and 6,
Absolutely.
but we let them sit where they wanted to. So we need to look at, okay, well, which students work better, as far as can we have some of our higher performers with our lower performers, so when we do get to the rating, we don't have a whole group of kind of non-readers that don't understand. We can kind of have a mix.
Correct.
Yeah, so, but I can give you a list of the full kind of curriculum from the book, where you can see what the next lesson is, if that's what you want to do, if you feel comfortable with, or we can go the older student route, where we're doing mostly on the government. And with theirs, I think theirs is a little bit easier, just because the students are a little bit older, and it's government concrete, so they're using the vocabulary instead. So,
Right. And these are our 11th and 12th graders.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
These are our 11th and 12th graders, or third year, fourth year, 1/5 year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As far as it, but still, same format. Change the routine. Okay, here's our do now. Let's try to engage their prior knowledge, see what they remember. And then for their reading, it's more of what we got from vocabulary, different types of government. And then I have a pretty good read works for them that's on, basically it's on dictatorship. And that's one of the things they cover in the vocabulary. So they'll be able to see that. The ultimate goal, if you're going to do a little lesson further down the road, is the next thing is to hit with really hardcore on democracy. These are the other ones of government, but this is what we have here in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. So yes, well that's great, because the lessons that I will be planning and writing out, you will be there to assist and make sure that everything is correct, and I'll be able to.
And then are there some standards that you have to cover as well, as far as your course, which I'm going to make sure we touch on that, and I work with you on that.
For the Teach Now program, we have 10 standards, which we will be graded on, which will be observed on, and you as well will be observing me. But one that stood out to me was Standard 2, Learning Differences, which falls in really great with our program, with the autism program, because we have many differences. Learning each student individually, and learning how we can differentiate with each one and to meet their needs. So that's the one I really be focusing on some parts of the weeks. And there are other standards, but that one particularly stood out to me. So.
Okay. Well, we'll work together on it, and then just let me know how I can help. And I think you have a lesson plan coming up in the next stage for the course, and then based on the assignment. So I guess we'll try to plan on 2 weeks out, see where we are.
Absolutely.
Just keep in mind, our students, and with us having assembly, like school night, learning paperwork, that we have to be willing to be flexible.
Right.
And modify as we need to. So we'll try to get a target window for your lesson. So you kind of have an idea that it's coming. If you want to do some prep ahead of time, do some do now testing, or some test out with our first period young people, you can do that.
That's right. All right. Well, I believe that's all. Well, thank you, Mr. Cundy, and I'm excited to work with you. That's all.
You're very welcome.
All right. Thank you.